J-Files on Double J.
The whole basis of Ween is to make cassettes for good friends of ours. We know these songs will get these people off, you know, and we just give it to them. We know they appreciate it.
Mutilated lips give a kiss on the wrist of the worm like tips of tentacles expanding in my mind.
We had the best time at your party. The wife and I thank you very much. You can pass up the road. You're driving crazy with that boogie.
Twisted musical genius. Yep, that pretty much sums up Ween. Since the mid-80s, Aaron Freeman and Mickey Melchiondo, aka Dean and Jean Ween, have served up pop masterpieces, brutally brown psychedelic musical explosions,
Bring forth the morning's cast unto me. Let's be forever, let forever be free.
and just about everything in between. They've tackled nearly every genre there is: funk, soul, gospel, country, R&B, heavy metal, punk rock, and so much more. And their fans? Yeah, they've amassed a pretty dedicated following right across the world, particularly here in Australia.
Been a massive Ween fan for almost half my life now.
Their song Party holds a special place in mine and my husband's relationship.
I just think they're musical geniuses.
They interpreted so many genres so well, but make them their own so easily.
Hey, Gab Burke here, J-Files producer at Double J, and this is the Ween J-Files podcast.
The sun comes up and I'm all washed out. Is this what Dina was talking about? I don't think I will ever return again, my friend.
You're going to hear why the gents aren't welcome back in Nashville anytime soon.
I just sat there and drank beer and watched these guys play everything, and then basically all we did was sing, you know.
The dodgy apartment that inspired the name of one of their earliest albums.
Just a little apartment, really like a total hole on a horse farm, you know, not a very nice place at all.
And an amazing interview from 1993 where Dean and Jean Ween sat down with Richard Kingsmill to talk about the band's approach to making music. But let's jump back to the very beginning. Here's how the lads started out.
I'm pleased to say, joining me tonight on Retro Perspective here at Triple J is one of the members of Ween, and that's Dean Ween. Dean Ween, welcome to Triple J.
Thanks, man.
When did you and Jean first meet up?
I guess it was 1983 or 84. We've been Ween, actually, pretty much since the day we first met, whereas some kids in junior high school are into whatever, basketball or something. We're into music, so we were all turning each other onto records. Aaron, or Gene, Aaron, whatever, he had a bunch of records that I didn't have, and I was really into punk rock, so I lent him a bunch of records, and he lent me a bunch of records, and we got seated next to each other in typing class. We made plans that day in typing class to go home to my house and try and make music. So that's how it started.
When did you start making music from that day forth?
From that day forward, yeah. We were even calling it Ween that day.
Why Ween?
I think at the time that was just a word that we used to describe, like, you call somebody a wuss or a peen. That was two words we used. So we called people Weens, like, he's a real Ween. Really didn't make much sense.
Mutilated lips give a kiss on the wrist of the worm like tips of tentacles expanding in my mind. I'm fine accepting only fresh brine. You can get another drop of this, yeah, you wish.
One of Ween's most popular albums, particularly here in Australia, nearly didn't make it out of the makeshift recording studio. Here's Dean talking to Michael Tunn on Triple J back in 1997.
What we do when we make records is we rent a house or a space or an office or whatever, and we have our own equipment, so we just come in there and we just call it a studio. But, you know, this was basically somebody's house that we rented that, you know, they didn't use in the wintertime. heat was really terrible, so the pipes froze and burst and flooded out the whole house. It really sucked.
And did it get your equipment?
Whatever of our equipment was on the floor, it didn't really get the tapes, but it was, it sucked. That's all I can really say about it.
So you didn't have to re-record any songs?
We did, actually, because we got kind of paranoid. After that, and nothing really worked quite right, everything was buzzing and popping, so, we recorded a couple songs over and over again. But the best parts of this record were done down there, for sure.
It's gonna be alright, baby. It's gonna be alright.
And we'll stick with that 97 chat with Tunny, where Dean also recounted the time they decided to stick with just one musical genre for a whole album. It was the, I'm going to say, country-inspired album, 12 Golden Country Greats.
Mr. Richard Smoker, you're a poopy poker. Chardonnay and cocaine in the spot.
Nashville was pretty sick. We didn't really know what the hell was going on, to tell you the truth. We were just thrust into it. The whole thing took us about 4 or 5 days to make that record.
Days go by and I'm still high, but I'm thinking about you.
It was really surreal, just watching these guys play our music and really discuss it, and try and arrange it and all that. When we make records, we do everything, right down to the manual labor of, like, if Aaron wants to throw a guitar track, then that means I'm engineering, and if I'm throwing a guitar track down, that means he's engineering. So we're used to, like, walking behind the board and doing the whole thing. With this, I just sat there and drank beer and watched these guys play everything, and then basically all we did was sing,
There's a sweater wearing coat, toting boot footing, good looking man on town. There's a smooth talking, funny walking dude around.
Well, Nashville's the songwriting capital of the world. You didn't get any songwriting offers while you were there, did you?
No, but it's the record we made. We didn't really put a whole lot of work into as far as the writing goes. There's a couple songs on it that I like more than the others, but I think that if we were to ever go back there, we could really make some incredible music. But right now, nobody wants us to go back there.
And if you really love me, baby, help me scrape the mucus off my brain.
And so basically what happened is these amazing musicians recorded this music not knowing what the vocals were. And they weren't too happy when they heard the final result. So needless to say, Gene and Dean Ween not going back to Nashville anytime soon.
When I feel ashamed, I get so scared. It makes me want to hurt you. Shame maker.
All right, here's some trivia for you. In the 1994 track Voodoo Lady off the Chocolate and Cheese album, what is it exactly that the Voodoo Lady drives Ween crazy with?
Shame maker.
The answer? You're going to find out soon. But let's get to that dodgy apartment that inspired the name of one of their earliest albums.
What about the pod, the title of the album? What is the pod? That was a place that you were hanging out at the time when you recorded that album?
Yeah, that was a place that Mickey and I had together. Just a little apartment, really like a total hole on a horse farm, not a very nice place at all. And it was just real, like, enclosed and low ceilings, and we just called it the pod, and there's always
tiny little joint.
Yeah, and it was just had a very pod-like place effect to it,
We ended up there because we, when we put out God, Ween, Satan, or when we signed the contract, we thought that was it. Like, we had it made for the rest of our lives, not knowing that it was going to take like 4 more years of torture. So we dropped out of college and we like got the pod, thinking like, all right, well, we'll make the record and then we'll be home free.
So what is it about Voodoo Lady that drives Ween crazy? and some more trivia still to come. But one of the things that stands out about Ween is their fans. They have a dedicated fan base the world over, and it's probably due to their accessibility. Gene and Dean often hang out with fans when they're on tour. Double J's Dan Condon took Dina and the band's keyboardist Glenn McClelland on a fishing trip while they were here in Australia a while back. But they'll happily chat to fans before and after gigs. Dean answers fan questions on his blog, askdina.com. Oh yeah, and the fans bring them food.
The first album that Ween released, there was a little note that you guys had written on it. Let me quote it. When Ween come to your town, you were to bring us food. We're into it. And then I think you did pretty much the same thing on the second album, except stop bringing us the junk food, just bring us hot meals.
Yeah, because, with the pod, we got just, people would bring us, bags of, stupid food, There's so much stupid food out there. We wrote that, Pure Guava. We got the hot meals thing together. And it was the smartest thing ever because we've been getting some really good homemade food. Yeah, all over America.
You feel safe eating it? You feel like, especially in the States, there must be a bunch of wackos out there.
No, if it's something that's okay, like somebody brings you some chicken or something, and you look at it and it's it might be good, it might not.
Yeah.
Then usually we won't eat it or we'll be a little paranoid. But if it's something that's just totally kick-ass, we don't even care. We'll just rip
and
it
people who make, I find that people who make kick-ass food really take pride in what they're making. They've got this look I've been home making this for 3 hours and I'm giving it to you and you will enjoy it. And you do, and it's awesome.
That's from that interview with Triple J's Richard Kingsmill back in 1993, and you're going to hear more of that very soon. But first, let's hear from some of the fans.
Hey, I'm Cam from the Gold Coast, being a massive Ween fan for almost half my life now. In fact, I actually followed their Australian tour around the country back in 2008. Saw them about 6 times, epic sets, every night was completely different. And I even ended up on the same flight as Ween to Perth, and I was wearing a Ween shirt at the time, but got too nervous to even speak to them. Aaron and I exchanged nods, and that was enough for me.
Hi, I'm Adana from Orange, and I'm a massive fan of Ween because their song Party holds a special place in mine and my husband's relationship. When we first got together, we listened to the song in the car and we thought it was the funniest thing ever. And not long after, he gave me my first present, which was the lyrics that he'd printed off the internet. And then at our wedding last year, we had that on the playlist, and it was a really special moment listening to that on the day. Tricoloured Pasta's never been the same.
Hey, this is Cameron from Melbourne. I just think they're musical geniuses. You listen to one album and there's just so much variety. But I think what's even more brilliant about it for me is that when you see them live, those tracks that you've heard on an album, they do completely different genre versions of those same tracks on stage. They're musical polymaths, and I think they're just fantastic, and I love them.
Take me away to some other land, thank you. I gotta get away from that girl before I'm going crazy.
Hey, it's John from Albury. I remember I was up the coast of New South Wales road tripping through Ballina, Byron Bay Way when Mel Banton in the morning show back in the day recommended Chocolate and Cheese as the perfect holiday album. So I got that album, and sure enough, Mel was right. Take Me Away, the album's first track, was just the perfect start to a great adventure. They interpreted so many genres so well, but make them their own so easily.
And speaking of their Aussie following, what Ween song got the highest position on the Australian music charts? In fact, the only Ween song to chart in Australia. The answer's coming up very soon.
We just record a million songs and usually go through them all, once a month or something, and put together a cassette. Usually know what the best songs are. While you're recording it. After you record a song, you know that it's a keeper.
Take a piece of tinsel and put it on the tree.
It's tough to say though sometimes too, because a lot of times we'll go back to something, like it'll be unlistenable by the time we finish doing it, and then you come back to it a while later and it's really good. But most of the time, yeah, it like just jumps right out.
And you put them on cassette, do you? And sort of keep them there for a while?
Yeah, well, what we do is we have this thing called the Week in Ween, or we used to get together and, just throw together everything onto a cassette and just listen to it, listen to everything we've done.
This is called Jello. Jelly? Who cares?
The whole basis of Ween is to make cassettes for good friends of ours, maybe like 5 or 6 of our friends. Songs that, we know these songs will get these people off, and we just give it to them. We know they appreciate it. That's why Ween started originally. I mean, the rest is just...
That's how we document Ween stuff, too. I mean, like, the Pure Guava stuff is actually from a tape called the Spring Tape, another tape called the Caprice Classic Tape.
To see the sign of thine self as throughout the ages of time.
And that stuff sounds more like albums than our albums do, I think, because it's all ripped into like a month of us recording. You know what I mean? Like he said, we give them to like 5 or 6 people. But when we remember stuff in our minds, we remember it by these cassettes that we gave 5 or 6 people. Like,
right.
Oh, that's a song from the Bilboa cassette.
Right.
That's a song from the Stallion cassette.
So in the ideal Ween world, would those cassettes be released as albums?
Well, no. I mean, because for the 5 or 6 people that we know are going to listen to it, we know they're going to dig it, those cassettes. But I think when we go for the universal, worldwide release thing, we want to put a little more thought into what songs we're putting on there.
I feel a tick in my head and he's sucking on my head. In the morning I'll be dead if he doesn't leave my head. Why can't he go away? Why does he have to stay? Maybe he wants to play, but I could only say I'll get you, I'll burn you, I'll crush you, I'll fight you, down, turn where you spiral all around.
But let's go back to that first one, God, Ween, Satan. I mean, okay, you're making cassettes for friends. How did it develop into a concern that you're actually releasing records? Was it hard to get that one released? Were you looking for it? Who approached you? What happened?
It was actually our manager now, Dave Ayers, who's actually outside playing pinball. He used to work for Twin Tone Records in Minneapolis, and he was signing this band called Skunk.
Squelch little weasel, crush him before he spawns. Bring it to me gently, but with many mental song.
He came to see Skunk play in their basement because he was about to sign them, and we had been opening up for Skunk that night in the basement. Dave liked us, gave us his card for Twin Tone, and got signed to Twin Tone Records, and then we put out God, Ween, Satan.
From 1993, when Richard Kingsmill sat down with Dean and Jean Ween. Alright, the track that reached the highest position on the Australian music charts. Of course, it's Push the Little Daisies. In fact, it's the only Ween song to chart in Australia to date. Having said that, they've appeared in Triple J's Hottest 100 Music Countdown a whopping 5 times over the years. All right, that's it from me. Mega fan Dan Condon has written an epic tribute to Ween. You can check it out at doublej.net.au. And what's on the J-Files next week? I'm Gab Burke. See you next time.
The J-Files.